Mr. Martin Deere, are you here? Yeah. Okay, so if you come up to the podium and you've got 3 minutes. Thank you.
Right. It was recently announced. So when I saw the council's Facebook post about the splash parks being built, the way it was being spun as an improvement to the town made me angry, and I wondered if other residents felt the same. I started the petition and shared it on a few of the local social media pages as a way of finding this out. The reaction to it's been overwhelming, with 1,549 people adding their signatures. I knew there was a lot of love in the town for our paddling pools, but to read some of the comments along with the signatures has been truly marvellous. Our paddling pools are an integral part of the town's fabric and history. Pretty much everyone who has ever lived here has used one or more at some point, and they serve as one of the last remaining levellers in the town. They are used by almost everyone, regardless of income level, age, gender, race or anything else. The splash parks will be aimed at under 12s. There's already very little, if anything, left to do in Harlow for young people between the ages of 12 and 18, especially things that are free at the point of use. If all of the pools are replaced with splash parks, this would indeed give this important age group even less to do. I personally feel that a mixture of both pools and splash parks could be a great asset, but to lose all 5 of our paddling pools to have 6 splash parks in total would be detrimental to Harlow as a whole. From the way that Harlow Council presented the plan, they neither have the appetite nor the budget to keep all 5 pools open. I named the town Park one not only for the reasons outlined in the main petition body, but also because its proximity to Pets Corner means it's the closest of any of them to a public toilet. The comments on the petition show that a lot of residents would like to see more than just the town park pool saved, with Norman Booth and Summers mentioned several times. Although my petition names just the one pool, it appears there is a strength of feeling to see more, if not all of them saved. It is hoped that this petition will also raise a discussion of doing this. The paddling pools aren't just used in the summer when they're filled with water, and when drained are used year-round by Harlow's wheel sports communities such as skateboards, BMX bikes, roller skates and scooters. There is a purpose-built skate park within the town, but this is not necessarily ideal for younger children or beginners, as it has deep holes and it can get very busy. The drain paddling pools have long been used as an unofficial learning ground, where people who don't have the confidence or ability to use the main park can practice on smaller banks. This keeps these users, especially the younger ones, safely within park areas, away from the roads and out of the only other large concreted areas of the town, such as the shopping centres. If all the pools are lost, these areas will inevitably become used for these purposes. With all the above in mind, I urge the members of the council to take on board the heartfelt views of myself and the other 1,548 people who signed the petition and vote to save what you can of the town's paddling pools. Thank you all for giving me your time and listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deere. Now we've got 30 minutes to debate this item, okay? Councillor Ingley, you're going to start us off.
Well, thank you, Mr. Deere. Thank you for organising the petition, for bringing the petition here and for asking the question. You clearly have a great love for the paddling pools. That's obvious. And actually, so do I. I love what they represent. They represent healthy outdoor opportunities for children. They represent the community coming together. They are, as you say, free to use. Without doubt, they're community assets. This wasn't an easy decision. But they were a design of their time. They're concrete slabs on a clay subsurface. Clay is subject to subsidence, it's subject to heat. Those slabs are moving. Every year we have to spend quite a lot of money on caulking the gaps that develop between the moving sheets, and that's causing some issues. The filters that keep the water clean there are old. They need extensive renovation. Those are things that we could deal with, given the money. What we can't deal with is the depth of the water. Now, they're not that deep, but they're deep enough to require us to have paddling pool attendants there. And those paddling pool attendants need to be trained. So, when we look at a summer like the one we've just had, where we had 14 weeks of glorious summer, when the fields were turning brown, when the dogs were panting and children were itching to get into a water sports area to play, we couldn't open the paddling pools because we were still training the staff to open them for the summer holiday. 14 weeks of beautiful weather, 6 weeks of use. And then they're easily put out of action. This year alone, we had that short window of opportunity eaten into by pump failure, by broken glass being left on the concrete, by somebody washing their dogs after dark in one of the paddling pools. And apart from the one in the town park where there's still a walk to the toilet, there are no toilet facilities. And little children playing in a paddling pool, some of them all day, that does make you question where they are toileting. You spoke fondly of memories, but health and safety won't allow the town park or any other of the paddling pools to stay as they were when you were using them. The depth of unsupervised water means that we are under pressure to build a fence around it, not the fences that are there now, but 8-foot high fences to entirely encircle the paddling pool with a locked door, such that the paddling pool attendant, when they're due to go home, would have to clear the area and lock the door behind them. And then out of season, we would have a drained paddling pool with a fence around it that's not designed for skateboarding activities. And if we then choose to leave it open and there's an accident, there is a possibility that we could be in some sort of legal trouble for not having locked that door. The replacements, the splash pools, do also offer healthy outdoor community coming together social activities, free to use. There is no depth of water. We don't need supervision. So we can open them at the flick of a switch. We could have got 14 weeks of use out of them this year, a much longer season. And if there is a problem, broken glass can be swept away. Dog's mess can be cleaned up. It really is a question of no downtime. And with the redesign, we can put toilets there, which I think everybody would welcome. However, Mr. Deal, we have listened, and we do take your petition seriously. The truth of the matter is, there are a limited number of contractors who can carry out this sort of installation work. We couldn't replace all 5 this year. We would look to do 2 this year of the peripheral ones, 2 next year by 2020. And when people have seen actually what the splash parks as we envisage them with their enhanced facilities have to offer, then in 2020, before a decision is taken about a town park, we would hold a public consultation. But let's be clear, that public consultation would be between replacing the town park paddling pool with a splash park and the reality of what keeping the paddling pool would be like. Because I'm afraid it wouldn't be like your memories. It would be a fenced-in facility. The paddling pool, the splash pool we could put there, if the public so choose, we could try and retain as many of the iconic features that you spoke so warmly about. So my proposal, councillors, is that we renovate 2 paddling pools over the next 2 years, and we hold a public consultation on the final paddling pool when we've got the design in place.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Any Councillor Johnson?
Thank you very much, Chair. And I also would like to thank Mr. Deere for bringing this petition tonight. It's very interesting to hear what he had to say, and also very interesting to hear what the Leader of the Council has had to say. I too have fond memories of the paddling pool, and I'm told I even had memories of the paddling pool before I was born, when my mother, in the extreme heat of the August of 1976, availed herself of a little bit of paddling, and I was heavily in her womb. I think we've all got memories of paddling pools, and to be fair, when the Leader of the Council brought this to the Cabinet meeting, the previous Cabinet meeting, I was quite vocal in my support. I wanted to see thriving areas for our children to play. I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and I know how much she has enjoyed splash parks over the years, as indeed the paddling pools. I didn't expect there to be the level of backlash and upset from members of the public that I've seen. And that, honestly, that surprised me. And not just about the town park paddling pool, but I know councillors in Old Harlow have been contacted about Norman Booth, councillors in Great Pond and Summers and Kingsmore about Summers. And like I say, I've been a bit shocked by that, but I'm a Democrat, and I'm quite willing to listen to the public, and say maybe the leader got it wrong when he made his proposal. I still think I agree with him that something needs to be done with the present paddling pools, although I question how much health and safety legislation has changed in the last 10 years and whether we really do have to fence also know that, builders in this country are pretty clever people, and it shouldn't be beyond the wit of man to have something that has a basin in it that can be used by skateboarders and skaters and filled when the time comes and the attendants are available, and a part of the area that has jets of water and things that people can splash in. So maybe I missed a trick when it was debated in Cabinet. Maybe there are other options out there, and perhaps we should see, perhaps via the scrutiny committee, what has been designed in other councils, in other towns, across Europe, across America, and see what these other places have to offer. And certainly I agree with the leader of the council, there should be a public consultation. But not just about the subject of this debate at Town Park. I think before any changes are made, we need a proper public consultation on all of them going forward, due to the high number of residents that have complained to councillors, signed this petition, and the amount of angst that it has caused across the town. Like I said at the start, I'm always a Democrat and happy to listen to the residents when they've got something to say. I think it's very rare these days that residents get involved in local politics. So when they do turn up to council meetings and when they do present petitions, we should probably listen.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, can I welcome the petition? Could you see that one? Oh, I've got me. First of all, can I say, give me another 10 seconds. Can I welcome the petition, Martin, and all the thousands of people who added to this. Can I also say I do welcome the comments and the reassurance that's been given by the leader, and I would also like to echo some of the comments made by the opposition leader over these particular issues. But this is about the town park, and it's about the town park paddling pool. As far as I believe, this should be about rejuvenation, not regeneration. The leader of the council says it was a design of the time. He's absolutely right. But everything was the design of the time, because Harlow was all built around the same time. But the paddling pool is just as crucial and as critical to our town park as Pets Corner and the outdoor playing area. And we wouldn't touch those. In fact, we invested in those particular areas, and I think it is the right time to look at the paddling pool and reinvest and rejuvenate rather than regenerate. When I was the Cabinet Member for Regeneration, we had the lottery funding, where we looked at the whole of the town park and looked at different areas of what we could invest in. And we made a decision then that there was nothing wrong with the paddling pool at that time. It hadn't shifted, it hadn't moved. There were problems, granted, in relation to the metal and the pumping and all those particular issues, which could be addressed and resolved as time would go by. But as far as I was aware at that time, there was nothing wrong with the fabric or the structure of the paddling pool. On the health and well-being, which is one of our critical criteria of this council, young people and their experience of water is critical. Where else can young people experience the pleasure of walking through water or playing through water that is free, accessible, fun and safe? Well, we can in the town park paddling pool. So I do believe we do have the ability to find a solution, very similar to what the leader of the opposition has said. We can look to other areas to see how we can make this happen. I also agree that I was not aware of the health and safety legislation that said we have to build 8-foot places and fences with locks on and other areas about that. And I think we do need to drill down and actually look at the evidence to say whether or not that is something that is realistic or something that is achievable. So in summary, I would like to support the 1,000 whatever it was and actually talk about the town paddling pool, and where we can, I would like to retain, rejuvenate and make it the icon that it is for the next generation. So I support and really welcome what the leader is saying about splash pools, but I also think we've got an opportunity to support what we think is the right thing, which is to retain, rejuvenate and enjoy our paddling pool in the town park. Thank you very much.
Councillor Harlow.
Thank you. I am the portfolio holder for this piece of work, and I want to say that I'm really excited by this petition, by this debate, by what it's stirred up. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I'm excited about the public coming together with the council and working to an outcome which I think, I hope, will be more or less satisfactory to all parties. I do want to make one point, so my colleague Tony has spoken very, very eloquently, and I second everything he said. Indeed, I agree with everything that's been said. I do want to make one point. I live in Old Harlow. I take my 8-year-old son both on his scooter in the winter and to the splash park in the summer. I'm up there constantly. I'm a great fan. I'm Australian. To the paddling pool. You know, this is a whole new thing to me, the concept of a paddling pool. Quite a sort of odd thing, but now that I'm used to it, I absolutely love them. What I will say to you, though, having spoken at length to the officers who are responsible for advising us and providing us with the evidence on which we have made the decisions, what I will say to you is that when I heard about the health and safety risks to children with the filters as they currently are in the state, of the germs that can very, very quickly and easily spread through the system because it's not fit for purpose over the longer term. When I said to my many mothers and father friends who said to me, "Oh, I'm appalled, I can't believe the first thing you've done when you went into council was put your name to this appalling decision, it's outrageous." I said, I hear you entirely, but I need to tell you that there are members of the council who fear every summer that there is going to be some outbreak of some germ or some virus which could really be quite toxic to small children. The filters need significant investment that will cost a lot of money, and that was the thinking that informed the idea of the splash parks. I think where we've got to now with a kind of hybrid solution, which is what we're going to investigate, is a really good one. But I just really want to put on the record that one of the primary motivations for this initiative was health and safety, the risk to our children, and it would be remiss of me as the portfolio holder and this council not to be very, very cognizant of those risks as we move forward. Thank you.
Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Chair. It's nice to hear that there's a consensus across both parties that the paddling pools do actually have a special place in all our hearts, and we can all share memories of them. And I'm no different now. I remember going over there many years after finishing school, and we used to play them all the time. I'm glad to hear Councillor Harvey agree that she seconds what Councillor Durkin said. So we can look forward to maybe looking a little bit deeper at this and not taking the paddling pools completely out of the equation and possibly looking to invest in them. I would like to put to her, though, that how many children, since their inception, have actually fallen ill to these so-called viruses. And if the health and safety legislation exists that we have to erect 8-foot fences around them, why were they opened at all this year? So I do kind of question that logic. In terms of money and requiring a lot of investment, perhaps we should invest in them for the future. We hear this year that there's £2 million underspent. Money shouldn't really be the barrier to investing in these things properly. So I welcome the fact that across both sides of this chamber that people are willing to look a little bit further at this, and I look forward to Councillor Harvey coming back to us, having looked at those a little bit further and seeing if we can debate this issue again and keep the paddling pools open. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Vaughan.
Thank you, Chair. I also love the paddling pools, although I never grew up here, so I've never used paddling pool. I actually use the beach because I come from Mauritius. But it's good for children to have water to play in, and also it helps parents to become friends and so on. I'm quite surprised with Councillor Perrin asking how many children have been affected. As a nurse, I'm always the preventative type. Why do we have to have children or anyone to be home before we act on anything? why can't we start doing something so that any harm doesn't happen to our children? I agree with Councillor Ingalls about the health and safety. It's very important to follow the law. Health and safety is not something to be there and to be just, yeah, we want it or not. It's actually the law. We've got to follow it. There is, if you want to see, in June 2017, it was printed about the health and safety review on pool and splash parks. So we need to look at all that, because we can't afford to put our children at risk, or anyone at risk. And I agree with Councillor Ingalls that we should do a consultation to see what the public wants for the pool in the town park. But as for the other places, I personally haven't come across anyone saying splash pool is a bad idea, because everybody who's used a splash pool love it. I love it. I would love to be able to run in there, but unfortunately I'm too old for that. But you know, it is important we look at all the aspects. I understand we need to keep what Harlow has built, but we also need to make sure everything is safe for the future of our children. So hopefully we will do a consultation and we'll get the whole town to see what they want, but by giving them all the facts and figures. Thank you.
Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I feel I ought to, because I have been approached by a number of people in Old Harlow about the proposed splash pools, and they're very upset. Their kids enjoyed being for only 6 weeks, whatever it is, in the Northern Booth Centre. We have got the use of toilets in the Northern Booth Centre because we use the BATS facilities. So they've come out to help us out. So there's not a question of, you know, children going to the toilet and water. I can't quite understand this. There's a lot of people over there, a lot of members over there who feel that there should be a consultation, or the decision that the leader is making is perhaps not the same as they want. I don't know why we can't have a consultation. This is fundamental to the children and parents of the town. Most things I would agree with consultation, but this one I think is, because there are so many people, as Mr. Deere has brought a petition, this 1,500 signatures, and that shows the strength, and that's probably only a very fraction of the people who use it. The town park is somewhere that's probably too far for people of Old Harlow to get to, so they use the Northern Booth, and they love it. And they've got all the facilities they need. I don't take it wrong, I'm down there, but I'm there down the litter picking, and the parents come up to me, the kids having fun, splashing around in 18 inches of water. Health and safety. I've got two, my niece and nephew live in Cambridge, and I go up there quite a lot. They've got a large paddling pool, which is about 18 inches deep, and it's probably the size of this area. No safety men, no women or safety persons. Parents are in charge. So obviously, whatever bit of legislation you come up with, it's not coming up. It doesn't need to be done here, unless, you know, if you prove me wrong, that's fine. Cambridge aren't doing it, so if Cambridge don't have to do it, I don't see why Harlow suddenly comes up with it. After all these years, we've got to build fences. It's dangerous for children to be in paddling pools. If it's that dangerous, why are you opening them? Okay, so you've got all the children at risk this year, because this piece of work has got to be going on for a few months, not just now. So you should have closed the wall because it's dangerous to children. And I agree with what Councillor Perrin said. How many children have come ill from those pools?
Councillor
Well, thank you, Chair. It's great to be having this debate tonight and having a discussion about paddling pools. I think there's no one in this chamber that would disagree that they're a fundamental part of Harlow life, and they're kind of one of the great things that makes us unique about a new town. What I would say is I'm a councillor in Harlow, and we had, when the redevelopment was done a few years ago, our paddling pool changed to a splash park. And I've got to say, it's been a great success overall. And actually, a lot of my residents really love it and really love the difference in some of the play they do. We did have an issue last year because it does require a computer to run. I think we've got, and unfortunately that was close to a significant part of last year, but I think we've solved some of that issues now. And actually now there's more technology in the UK, and that's why a lot of the companies that are doing it were in America, and we had problems with that. But I think it is something we can look at, and I think we're all kind of agreement about looking at how we kind of compromise around this. I have some issues with some of the advice around health and safety and kind of fence stuff, but there is a legitimate concern around the pumps and some of the other things. It was in my portfolio for 5-6 years until earlier this year. It's something we've been looking at for a number of years each year about how long it takes to fix the paddling pools, how long that is. There is genuinely issues with paddling pools. We've always known there's a big amount of work coming at some point that we need to pay a lot of money to get a lot of the paddling pools fixed. It's not been a secret, and we've been trying to fix it bit by bit as it comes on. But as you know, if anything, you keep patching, eventually you do need to do some work. And I think it's the opportunity, because the time is coming when we'll get into a crunch point where it will be, can we open more next year? Or not, maybe not next year, but the year after. And it's like, what do we do? Do we try and do something proactive to change it? And I think this could be a really positive. And I think maybe some kind of combination. I think we need to look at how we do this properly. But I think we don't need to fear. I think there's a fear of what splash parks are, and maybe taking away from adult stuff. I think there's multiple use in my board, I've got to say. And there is families, and there is adults and teenagers that also use the splash park. So I've got to say that just from my own personal experience in my local area, it's been a great success, and people have loved what we have in Forestry. And I know that I sometimes, when I've got my niece and nephew, will take them over to other areas that have got some of the splash parks, which are great. But I do take the point, and I do have to know, I mean, we have looked at the number over time, but I think something does need to happen. I do agree with some of the stuff when you said that there is definitely an issue, fundamental issue of the pumps. That's been coming for years, and we know that, and we've been trying to look at how we do that, but you can only patch things for so long. So there will be a significant investment needed in the paddling pools in what way, shape or form. But I think we could work forward. I think we should listen to the public and what they're saying in this, but maybe not fear splash parks completely. I've just got to say it has been a huge success for us, and I don't think we should ignore that and touch it.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't planning to speak on this, but I'm actually quite enjoying this debate and where it's going. I just want to add a couple of things to what Councillor Toll's just said. Like Councillor Toll, I'm a local councillor in Harlow Common Ward. The only ward in Harlow that already has a splash park. We went through the scorching June and July this year. The only place that children could go in this town is up to Potter Street, where we had the only splash park open because the paddling pools were open. So I do see the advantages of the splash parks. But I do also know that maybe there should be a choice, maybe having one paddling pool open, and I understand that, and I quite agree with that. What I want to talk about actually was about this consultation that everyone seems to be talking about. And I said this at the Cabinet meeting when it was debated. I need to remind people we had consultation at Potter Street before, when we had the paddling pool and the old Carter's Mead site, and then there was a proposal with the GAP2 funding to move it all over to the Lockwood site. But the consultation, and I think this is the lesson we need to learn, the consultation was actually to the people that matter, children. Harlow and agents to this day went to Potter Street Junior and Infant School and consulted with the children what they wanted. They were given the choice. And we watched them, obviously I knew they had a paddling pool already. Some of them have gone out into Stevenage, who's very famous for having splash parks. A lot of them have gone all the way to Stevenage to see. Overwhelmingly, the children were in a splash park. So I do agree with consultation, but I think we need to add in that if we're going to consult with people, let's go into schools and see what children actually want. Because it's the children, we're all going to be sitting there watching them, some of our kids, maybe some of the grandchildren, hopefully. But let's actually start consulting with the people that are going to use these facilities, like we did back in the days in Potter Street, like Harlow and Agents and Harlow Council did, going back to the GAP2 funding and start talking to children. Because it's their enjoyment, it's their safety, and it's their community. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Chair, I keep forgetting myself. I wish to stand a second time under the rules of the Act, move a motion as mentioned in Rule 13C to refer something to an appropriate body or individual. Given the high level of debate that we've had tonight already and the feeling around the chamber that we need to consult the public I'm not sold on splash parks versus paddling pools yet. I still believe that splash parks could have an important part to play in this town. Conscious we've all said we want to listen to the public, I would like to move that we refer this item to the Scrutiny Committee for a full investigation into the benefits of splash parks versus paddling pools.
First one I was going to make is the second. We're now in a situation where that is the motion from members. The question is there an amendment or not? That's up to members. Otherwise, we have to. Yeah. So the first thing to do is debate the motion before but I am conscious that we've only got 30 minutes for the whole thing.
We're not far off it. Okay.
Put it to the vote.
I have asked.
Right, you go for it.
Thank you. Just before I probably close this debate, I'd just like to draw people's attention to a health and safety review into Harlow Town paddling pools and the splash park dated June 2017. It says it's recommended that access to the pools is fully restricted where water remains in the pools, therefore not including the splash park. It should be subject to risk assessment. High fencing throughout should be installed. So, you know, the risks are there. They have been stated. However, I'm fully prepared to have a debate on this, so I'm going to accept Councillor Johnson's motion and suggest we take this to scrutiny.
Okay, so
You know my goals.
councillors,
Suppose we go to the vote.
yeah, that's what I'm just going to do, but I'm going to say it again. We put the motion to council that the scrutiny committee look at the differences or the combinations of the splash pools and the paddling pools, and we come back from that committee back to full council with whatever they've come up with. That how we're going to go through. The vote, agreed? Agreed. Fine, excellent.